You are about to lose your job. You are about to lose your job. Lose your job. I'm waiting for it to focus. Hold on. This might take a while. Oh my god, he's so handsome. He a rock star. Like, ooh, zaddy, I want that. You are about to lose your job. Hey, how's it going? How's life? My name is Sophia. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be doing my October wrap up. Now, in the month of October, I read a total of 4 books, which is pretty average for me. It was a so-so reading month. I have one book that I hated. Well, maybe hate's a strong word. 2 books that I thought were so-so, and then like 1 book that is like a new fave of mine. Okay, so the first 2 books I read in the month of October are going to be The Kingdom of Copper and The Empire of Gold. Both of these are by S.A. Chakraborty. These are the Daevabad trilogy, I believe. I read these at the very beginning of the month, and I thought for the most part that they were okay. I thought they were enjoyable for the most part. Definitely not a new fave of mine. So in this series, we are following our main character, Nahri, who is a healer living in Egypt. One day she accidentally summons a djinn and she ends up getting whisked away into this magical city known as Daevabad. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, I don't remember much that happened in the second book. I don't know. I read this entire trilogy back to back, so this one, it just kind of went over my head. I will say that I absolutely adored Ali. He is my favorite character in this entire trilogy. I felt like he had the most character growth out of all of them. Nahri is a really good protagonist. She also had a really good character growth throughout the series, but I will say that there were certain decisions that she made that I found to be quite annoying, if you will. But other than that, these 2 were the strongest out of all of the characters, in my personal opinion. My least favorite character is Dada. And the reason for that is because Dada is this dark, brooding character, kind of like every other dark, brooding character you can think of in YA. That is Dada. And Dada has like this deep, dark past, and he is traumatized by his past. And although I appreciated getting to see Dada's past and watching him work through his trauma, I didn't particularly think it was done in the best possible way. It felt that the author was trying a little bit too hard to get us to like Dada. Slight spoiler warning for this, for a character arc. If you don't want to hear this, I will leave a timestamp down. I will leave a timestamp down below for you to skip ahead. Another thing is that I didn't feel that there were much consequences to character actions. So for example, as I said in the beginning, Dada is a mass murderer. And the author tries to make him super likable, and in the end, he doesn't really suffer the consequences of his actions. And that was a bit of a bummer to me. At the bare minimum, Dada should have been thrown in prison. But no, he's left to wander the earth to atone for his sins. And so other than that, it was an enjoyable story. It was fun. I will say that out of this entire series, The Empire of Gold is the strongest. Throughout the entire series, the author is giving us stakes, but I will say I was kind of disappointed in the ending simply because I felt that the author didn't follow through. And so for those of you who might not know, I like high stakes in my story. I like it when an author takes it there, and I just enjoy having my soul crushed. And there were so many moments in this series that could have been soul crushing, heartbreaking, mind shattering. But the author decided to play it safe and didn't go there. The way this series ended, it was kind of a pet peeve of mine. The reason why is because I hated when a story ends or like a series ends and the author takes their time trying to wrap up every single little detail. Personally, I prefer a more open-ended ending, but the Empire of Gold, Chakraborty does take her sweet time trying to wrap up every single little detail, and that was just a little pet peeve of mine that I had. I gave the Kingdom of Copper a 3 out of 5 stars, and I gave Empire of Gold a 3.5 out of 5 stars. The next book I read in the month of October is a new fave of mine. It was so amazing, and that is going to be Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. Now, I first heard about this from Katy's channel, from Katy Brightness Reads, and then my friend Rue read it and she just couldn't stop gushing about it, so I was just like, what the heck. Like, I decided to pick this up on a whim, and so I picked it up, I read it, and I freaking loved it. Okay, in this story you are following our main character Kieran, who is in jail. The story starts off with Kieran telling his story to Talon, another character, of how he ended up in prison. This story follows 2 separate timelines. One timeline is told from Kieran's perspective, and the other timeline is told through other people's perspective, people who have already met Kieran. And that is probably one of my favorite things ever. I thought this story was so well done, so unique, and the way that Jen Lyons structured the story, not just the 2 timelines, but also telling a story of your main character from other people's perspective, I thought that was super unique, and it's not something that I've ever read before. Mwah! Masterpiece. I loved it. In terms of characters, I absolutely loved almost every single character that we are introduced to, and it is a lot. Particularly, I loved Kieran's main character, and I loved Talon. She's another character that's telling Kieran's story. I don't know, there's something about their personality that I find very charming and entertainable, and entertainable isn't a word. Entertaining and likable. The world building in this book is absolutely crazy. Like, it is so expansive. The main plot lines of this story is only happening in like 2 different places of the world, but you can tell that the world is super expansive and there's a lot more to explore within this empire. I will say that even though I loved and adored this series, this isn't something I would recommend to a fantasy beginner, simply because it's confusing. It's hella confusing. I had to go back several times and reread passages over and over again, simply because it just went over my head. There's a lot of body swapping in this story, which also adds to the confusion, and so be aware of that going in. In terms of the structure, I really also enjoyed the footnotes. There are quite a few footnotes, but I wouldn't say that it's overwhelming. I did hear Rue from Rue's Reading Corner say that the footnotes reminded her of the footnotes in Nevernight by J. Kristoff, and I will say I do agree with that, except I think these footnotes are better. I thought that the footnotes in Nevernight were very heavy-handed and very info dumpy in a way that this isn't. And like, the narrator of the footnotes is absolutely hilarious. He's sassy and I love it. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. If I'm being completely honest, it might be a 5. I really enjoyed it. I loved it so much. Would highly recommend. The thing is, I don't know how coherent I am because I loved this book so much and I just want you guys to read it. But yes. Now, Unfortunately for me, the next book I read in the month of October wasn't as entertaining to me. For those of you who don't know, I co-host a book club with my friends, plural, called Chaos Rising Book Club, and our book club pick of the month was Battle Royale by Koshin Takami. Now, I will leave a link to the live show down below if you guys are interested in checking out any of our spoilery thoughts. I don't know if you can see this, but like if you look, you can see I have a crap ton of orange tabs. And the reason for that is because orange tabs signify moments in a story that I didn't like. And let me tell you, there was a crap ton of moments in this book that I didn't like. In this story, you are following 42 students, I believe, and they are placed on this island and they are each given weapons to kill each other. Now, the last student standing wins the game. There are a lot of political themes. This was written in the 90s, I believe, and so the author was inspired by political events happening in Japan, which is why he wrote this story. And I respect what the author was trying to do. But this wasn't an enjoyable story for me at all. When I first started reading the story, it was kind of slow in the beginning, but then when we got to part 2, I was just like, oh, things are starting to pick up. Okay, like I'm ready, but also I'm not. Like, let's see where this takes us. And I had really high hopes. I thought bare minimum this would be a 4 out of 5 stars, and that isn't what happened. First and foremost, my biggest gripe is the character development. There is none. There's absolutely no character development, and the reason for that is because you are following 42 students, so it's impossible for the author to properly develop each and every single character. It would take too long, but I understand the need to cut down on that. But the characters, even the characters that we do get, aren't that properly developed in my opinion, particularly the women. The women, they're just so useless in this book, and honestly it felt misogynistic to a certain extent, and I didn't like that at all. And then you have the one gay character, and he was a complete caricature of a stereotypical gay man, and that made me super uncomfortable to read. And also, in terms of the gay character, there was just casual homophobia towards him, and I didn't like that at all. It made me super uncomfortable. Once again, it took me out of the story. There was just so much that could have been done. In terms of character development, I felt like this story could have been told with just half the amount of students. That way we could actually have a bit more time to develop each character. In terms of plot, I could tell immediately that this was going to be a plot-driven story. So there are plot conveniences sprinkled throughout the story, and so that took me out of the story. There are so many moments where certain characters should have died, but because the author needed that character to further the plot, they didn't. And so things like that just irked me a smidge. But yeah, this is probably going to be one of my most disappointing reads of 2020. I will say that I am interested in doing a little bit more research into the political climate of Japan when this was written. I think it would be a good idea to educate myself on that. But other than that, I didn't like this at all. And then there's like this self-insert character that I found to be so annoying. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Grab a bucket of popcorn. We need to talk. Okay, so homie out here writing female characters. And when I tell you, every single character, every single woman has a crush on Shuya Nanahara. Literally every single girl's like, oh my god, he's so handsome, he a rock star, like, ooh, zaddy, I want that. And it's just like, no. And then there's, okay, I don't know, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, skip to this timestamp that I'm gonna leave down below on the screen. But yeah, there's like these two girls, they're best friends or whatever. They get shot and killed, and literally in their dying breaths, one of the homegirls is like, I had a crush on Shuya Nanahara, and then the other girlfriend is just like, I also had a crush on him. I'm just like, what? No, first of all, that violates girl code, and second of all, who in their dying breath is like, I love this man? No. And like the thing is, I can understand if it was just like one or two characters, you know, you're about to die and you got to get this off your chest, like, I love you, off my chest. But every single one, teenagers aren't like this in real life. Like, teenagers have personalities outside of their relationships, believe it or not. But that was like another thing that irked me. And then another thing that my biggest irked, this is the thing, my biggest gripe, and like towards the end I was thinking this might be a 3 stars, you know, like being generous, because you know. And then I read the end and I was like, this is a 2 star. I'm upset, I'm annoyed, I'm pissed, I'm upset, I'm upset. And that is because in my mind, this book should have ended at, what's the page? What's the page? You will hear me say this in the live show if you decide to check it out. In this edition, this book should have ended at 596. And then the author went and gave us an epilogue. Epilogues. I am not the biggest fan of epilogues in general, and so the fact this ended in an epilogue with my least favorite character surviving, upset. It made me upset. But yes, gave this a 2 out of 5 stars, honestly. Oh, and also if you are, I don't know how many indigenous people watch my channel, there's like a part where they refer to indigenous people from South America as South American Indians. I was just like, is that the word you want to use to describe these people? Are you sure? I don't know. And I don't think it's the author's fault. I more so blame the translator. But yeah, those are a couple of gripes that I have with this book. Oh crap, dropped it. That was my Incoherent October wrap up. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know some of the books you guys read in the month of October. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope to see you guys soon with another video. And until then, I will see you soon. Bye. Peace out, son. Oh, I'm so weird. Oh my gosh.